have worked on major projects like King's Cross and spent decades shaping London. Let's start simply. How can Bucharest apply your idea of big ideas and small changes in practice?
Well, that's a methodology, it's an approach. Cities can look at each other, and when I was working for London, we spent a lot of time looking at other cities, but you never copy. The solutions to a city's problems come out of the city's own experience. So I think there are similarities between Bucharest and London. They are both mixed economies. I think the political administrations are strategic. Without the large budgets and powers of some cities, but that's good. And I think that the approach of big ideas and small projects is a way of adapting your thinking to particular problems of a city and coping with the change that you live within. I think one of the circumstances we have is the world is changing so rapidly. It's almost impossible to plan ahead in the way that we did 30 years ago. And therefore, having little projects and adapting, but driving towards a single big idea is quite a powerful way in which we can change cities in this very fluid and uncertain world that we live in.
But do you think should Bucharest focus on large flagship projects or smaller incremental changes?
I'm a great fan of smaller incremental changes. I mean, some cities have been successful with big flagship projects. I mean, the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao redefined Bilbao. But I think that the most successful cities are doing a lot of smaller projects, doing them very well, and slowly rebuilding the city that way. So I think that's the way forward.
Bucharest is still dominated by cars. How can this realistically change?
That's a long-term project. I think that in the 20 years I've known the city, it's less dominated than it was. But I don't think there's been the revolution in public transport that we've seen in other cities. So I think there has to be a long-term project of investment in public transport, serious investment in public transport, and the incremental redistribution of road space away from the car towards the pedestrian and the bus and the metro.
Additionally, was the first step toward a more human-centered city here in Bucharest.
So what are they?
The first step toward a more human city, a human-centered city.
Well, I think you've done a lot of that. The transformation of the city centre in 20 years has been remarkable. When I came here 20 years ago, most of the pavements had cars parked on them. You've controlled the cars, you've pedestrianised, you've got a cafe life, you've got mixed uses. So a lot of the moves you've made have been good. It's just continuing to do it.
Your lesson from King Cross can apply here, do you think?
I don't know if it's King's Cross. I mean, King's Cross was a major project, a major regeneration project where we had an empty piece of land. When I worked at Design for London, we were working at the city scale, where we didn't have the large budgets or the concentration of power, and therefore all of the projects we did were based on small areas, consultation, finding the money, and creating alliances between the public sector and the private sector. That, I think, is a methodology that will work in Bucharest.
It's important. Do you think it's important the private and public bond?
Yeah, no.
Here, yeah?
It's essential. It's a joint project. The city can't do it alone, and the private sector can't do it alone. And I think successful cities have achieved an alliance between public sector and private sector. where both parties understand the limitations of themselves and each other, and both can see a mutual advantage, long-term advantage, in working together.
And how can participation become real, not just formal? Because you mentioned a larger collaboration with 20,000 people, or a referendum.
You have to. It's got to be genuine. It only works if you listen and if you act on it. People become very cynical very quickly with consultation if their views are ignored. So I think it has to be genuine. It has to be based on the issues that concern people. If you're living on a low income with a large family, you're not interested. You're not interested in a 20-year strategy for the city. You're interested in what happens in your street, what happens in your kids' school, where they play. Getting your neighborhood right is where you can engage. And that's where you can actually demonstrate to people that what they said you can respond to.
What kind of spaces do you think are missing here in Bucharest?
What kind of spaces?
Missing here.
Well, I think I don't know the city well enough. I know the city centre in some districts. I think you're beginning to put in public space. I haven't seen much children's play space. Perhaps I just haven't seen it. I think the project around reclaiming the river is really important. And I think there's a project to connect the various pieces of public space together here.